green light to open. We hear from one local beauty shop owner next. Plus, Chautauqua County Sheriff Jim Quattrone joins us live to talk more about the conversation between protesters and police over the weekend during a Jamestown Black Lives Matter rally.
Well, the rain has stopped and the clouds have partly parted for this afternoon, but some more heat and humidity is on the way. We'll talk about it next. The News at Noon starts right now.
Live and on demand, this is WNY News Now.
And thanks for joining us for WNY News Now. I'm Justin Gould. Salons and barber shops across Western New York now have the green light to get back to business after the region officially entered Phase 2 of reopening yesterday. In Randolph, Detailed Salon is taking steps to follow state guidelines and protect their customers. However, owner Amber Olrog says the guidelines provided by New York State weren't that specific.
They gave us a list of things that they wanted us to do. If your stations were, not 6 feet apart, they wanted you to put up partitions in between or dividers and stuff like that. But basically, we had to write our own safety plan, and we don't turn it into anybody. You just have to have it at the desk.
Customers must now call ahead when they arrive for appointments prior to entering the salon, and the salon is only able to offer half of its services because of guidelines. New York State requires extra sanitary procedures, which Olrog says normally occurs.
Everyone gets a clean cape, which they do anyway. Everyone has to wear a mask, and we just sanitize all the chairs in between every client, which we did anyway.
Following the immediate closure at the beginning of the COVID-19 outbreak, Olrog says she was greatly impacted, mainly because as a small business owner, she was very concerned about what the future would look like.
We've only been here a year. The first year of business is so important, and it's so easy to get behind on things, so luckily that didn't happen, but I was scared. This is my whole life.
She was hoping to have an anniversary party, but now with gathering restrictions is not able to. Even with reopening, Detail Salon is still working at half capacity with some services like nail care and waxing on hold. Additionally, a new employee hired at the beginning of the outbreak hasn't been able to work because of the service restrictions. Olrog says throughout the pandemic, she's kept in touch with many customers on social media who have stayed faithful to her service and refrained from trying to craft themselves.
I'm so happy they're not cutting their own hair, first of all, but it's nice that they're waiting. They waited for me. It's nice. Those are my people. Yeah. And it's been, I'm like, wow, look at all your hair. And everyone's like, yeah, I know, please take it off. And everyone just seems really happy about it when they're done. They feel good about themselves, and that's important. That's what I do here.
Now, she hopes that the new normal would be defined soon so that she can bring back her part-time worker and get her business back to full capacity. All office-based jobs, retail, real estate services, motor vehicle leasing, rental, and sales are also now open under Phase 2. Well, two local officials took an opportunity yesterday to experience the life of a frontline worker during an appearance at the Country Fair on Route 60 in Gary. Congressman Tom Reed and State Senator George Borrello hopped behind the counter to make a sub, with officials there and workers appearing to have a pretty good time. Reed and Borrello, however, turned serious as they applauded the workers' efforts during this COVID-19 pandemic, with the congressman additionally discussing rewarding Americans through an American Workers Act.
What this is about is giving them a cash bonus for being on the front line during the crisis, showing up at work, and rewarding that American work ethic in regards to the next potential economic stimulus package coming out. We're going to be strongly advocating that these workers are the ones that we should be giving the checks to just say thank you and to honor their service and honor their risking of their lives, showing up during the crisis and keeping us fed, keeping us safe, and working together, getting through this crisis. I think it's only right that they receive a financial benefit, a significant financial benefit, to send the message, we're with them.
The congressman adds that anyone who has worked from the first date of the national emergency declaration to the date of the bill's passing would receive a bonus. regardless of whether or not they were listed as a dependent on a tax return. Well, memorial services for George Floyd are scheduled during the next week in Minneapolis and elsewhere. In the meantime, his memory is being kept alive by another day and night full of protests nationwide. John Lawrence has a look at the latest developments.
For the 8th consecutive day, many people took to the streets protesting the death of George Floyd. Some gatherings were peaceful as demonstrators held signs and called for justice for Floyd. But there were tensions once again in some areas, like New York, Washington, D.C., and Atlanta, where tear gas was deployed to disperse protesters who hadn't left by curfew. The streets eventually emptied, but they're expected to fill up again. I'm John Lawrence reporting.
John, thank you. Services for Floyd are in the works right now in Minneapolis, Houston, and Redford, North Carolina. Here in Jamestown, a kneel-down prayer protest is scheduled to take place Friday and Sunday. Well, police scanner apps are surging in the popularity after days of riots here across the United States. The 5.0 radio police scanner is one of the most popular right now on the Apple iTunes store. It costs $5 to download, making it the top paid app in the App Store's history. The police scanner app gives real-time information about incidences involving the deployment of police, fire, and EMS. And some scanner apps also let the protesters listen live to the police radio feeds. The developers for the 5.0 radio police scanner app say that the app has had more than 500,000 active users tune in since Sunday. Well, back here at home, Jefferson Middle School students recently created a unique spin on some type of the world's most famed artistic masterpieces, part of a project that they were working on remotely during this COVID-19 pandemic. Students in Lisa Corey's art class created and recreated works from items that they found around their home. She encouraged her students to take a virtual field trip to museums for inspiration. And as you see, some of the assignments were inspired from various famous works across the world. She says overall, she got the idea from Instagram, of all places, where there was a challenge posted between art and quarantine. But she adapted that for her students to use in the virtual classroom setting. Pretty cool, and it's great to see some of the artwork that the students have created, and very creative too, some of them using household items that you just find anywhere. So pretty cool to see. Well, we thank you for joining us here for WNY News Now as we continue to put facts over fear in our coverage of COVID-19 and pretty much everything here as the world develops right in front of us. Got to say hello to Linda. Good to see you. Good to see Ryan, Karen, Amber. Great to have you on the show. Laura, good afternoon to you. Good afternoon to Rick, Brenda, and Pam and Penny. Hopefully everyone is having a good day. We thank you for joining us here on WNY News Now. Let's now get a check of our First Defense weather forecast with Chief Forecaster Dakota Hunter. And Dakota, last night there was a couple of thunderstorms that rolled across the area. And this morning I was trying so hard to beat the rain before I got in. But of course, as soon as I park in my parking spot, it pours. Mm-hmm. So, and then I'm stuck there. I'm either stuck there for 10 minutes or I take the risk to run inside, and I decided to do that and had to change my shirt.
Yep, exactly. I mean, you know, that happens all the time. I mean, you know, you get out there and it's not raining, and then you get to where it is and it's raining. But yeah, we had some strong thunderstorms last night, mainly eastward. Again, Chautauqua County didn't get any, but Cattaraugus County, especially the southeastern part of Cattaraugus County, they had hail that was up to the size of ping pong balls. I mean, there was a lot of hail in that storm along with gusty winds. Right now, it's calm and warm right now. It's 73 degrees with a dew point at 64. Here's the radar over the past few hours. This is that band of showers and thunderstorms thunderstorms that came through this morning around 5, 6 o'clock this morning. Nothing severe, but there was a few rumbles of thunder and a few flashes of lightning with that, along with some heavy rain. That has all moved down to the south. The severe weather threat for today has ended, so that is the good news. And actually, in the wake of this, we actually may even see some bright sunshine in the afternoon. And in fact, there actually is some sun peeking downtown right now. 75 was the high yesterday. 65 was the low this morning, but temperatures rose overnight as a warm front moved through. Erie spiked into the lower 80s at 2 a.m. this morning. When I saw that, I'm like, can that be correct? And I verified with the Weather Service in Cleveland. They rose to 80 degrees at 2 a.m. this morning. Wow. 90 and 27 are basically in the record books for today. Those will be safe for another year. So through the afternoon, any early showers or thunder showers that we have will taper off. They're pretty much all gone for the afternoon. Some cloud breaks. Some areas may even see mostly sunny skies for the essentially for the afternoon, but it will be muggier. 68 at the immediate Lake Erie waterfront to 77 while inland with a west wind 11 to 21 miles per hour. Some wind gusts could be around 30 miles an hour this afternoon. Now we have the humidity spikes up, and that'll continue for at least. Justin, back to you. I'm going to throw it to you while I find my tongue.
All right, Dakota, hopefully you can find your humidity somewhere, but I certainly don't want any of it. Thank you very much. Coming up next, Chautauqua County Sheriff Jim Quattrone, you see there, joins us live to talk more about this amazing conversation between protesters and police over the weekend during the Jamestown Black Lives Matter rally. Stay with us as WNY News Now continues.
With coverage that matters. This is WNY News Now.
EagleZip.com is your local one-stop shop for all of your home and business computer needs. Located on Fluvan Avenue Extension, just outside of Jamestown, EagleZip.com sells and services all brands of desktops and laptops, as well as servers and network equipment for your business. All new computer sales include transferring your data from your old computer plus a 2-year warranty. Call EagleZip.com today.
Stop by EagleZip.com today and let us make computers easy for you.
When you're on the go, stay in the know by downloading the WNY News Now mobile app. Stay up to date on local news, weather, and sports that matter to you. Plus, subscribe to breaking news and weather alerts from the team that puts coverage first. In addition, watch news as it happens with the Southern Tier's only 24/7 streaming network. Download the WNY News Now app right now. It's free on the Apple App Store and Google Play Store.
You're watching WNY News Now, where coverage comes first.
And welcome back to WNY News Now. Over the weekend, law enforcement joined protesters at a Black Lives Matter rally here in Jamestown, where they discussed police reforms in a peaceful, candid conversation. Joining us on the show to talk more about what we saw was Chautauqua County Sheriff Jim Quattrone. Sheriff, great to have you here today. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Justin, for having me.
First off, sir, I want to ask, what drew you to the protest there on Sunday?
We had heard about the protest. I had reached out to Shiloh the night before, and then one of our deputies had asked permission to put a post on our Facebook, and I got an invite from Justin Hubbard to join them down there. And so we decided to go down, and the chief, I contacted the chief, Snelling's on the way, and he was on his way already also. So, so it wasn't a pre-planned, but it was an invite, and we thought it was important for us to be there.
Yes, the Mayor Sundquist, Chief Snellings, and yourself were there among some of the other law enforcement from the area. And speaking with the community for what seemed to be around an hour, what were some of the things that were addressed with residents and law enforcement?
Well, I think more importantly was the conversation after that hour. I was able to stick around the park until about 3:15. Had some great conversations with different individuals and residents, non-residents, and really to learn more about their perspective, some of the perspectives. It's easy for us to try to get an understanding, or say we're trying to get an understanding, but to hear what somebody is truly feeling and the emotions that they're going through. Um, One gentleman, I don't think he would mind. I had a great conversation with Ron Graham, and Ron just shared some really great facts with me and information with me that enlightened me to some of the issues that are going on.
What was the biggest thing that you took away from having that dialogue there on Sunday? It seems like you spent a lot of time hearing, giving feedback. What was the big thing that you took home with you?
The big thing is communication, and the communication is hearing from each other what is needed to to see this justice that is so much needed, and I'm hoping a recognition that the bigger problem is it goes beyond the incident that happened in Minnesota, but it goes for many years and across the spectrum that this is going to be a long process. It's not a sprint, but it's going to be a marathon. And we have to continue the dialogue and finding out how we can do a better job in reaching out to the community. One of the big things was the lack of minority representation in law enforcement, at least in Chautauqua County and probably across the nation. And quite honestly, as I left there, I was beginning to wonder why any young person would want to be a police officer with some of the distrust that was expressed there. But this is going to be a larger recruiting effort amongst law enforcement and the community to try to get our young people interested, to find out what they have to do to get into law enforcement. And that's what we want to continue to focus on.
Is that a hard thing for you and your deputies to see? Maybe not so much here locally. I'd imagine having the dialogue. I know I've talked to a lot of people who are very proud to see that, but nationally, we see all this violence between police and law enforcement who are working to keep the peace. Do you think that as a local law enforcement official, that does hinder people who say, I'm interested in becoming a police officer, but I don't know if that's something I want to do because of the stereotype that surrounds them?
Absolutely. We've seen over the years, and most recently, our academy attendance has been drastically reduced. And for Chautauqua County, I believe we had last year's academy only 9 people that from Chautauqua County that attended the academy, and so we're trying to overall boost those numbers and in trying to work with our community and hopefully get some minority members that would be willing to attend the academy and have an interest in law enforcement. We have a process in New York State where to be hired in law enforcement, they have to take a civil service test. So we are somewhat limited by that, but I think that's where one of the areas is to do some education in the schools, how to take the test and what the requirements are to take it.
Now, on the point of those riots here nationwide that we see, why do you think that it comes to such a tension and we see these people destroy their communities? Why do you think we see that?
I think there's a lot of built up anger with the process and the system. And, it's difficult for me to see it, but it's also difficult for me to fully understand. And that's why it's so important that we listen to our community members, such as, the opportunity we had down at the protest at Del Park. I had shared with somebody on Facebook. I saw in Niagara Falls, I think it was the mayor was claiming that the protest they had should have been an example for the nation and how to do a protest and get your points across with nonviolence. But I truly believe what we saw in Jamestown at Del Park was a great opportunity for many people to see we can have peaceful protests and continue. the problem is we have a start of a dialogue. We need to continue that dialogue, but then move beyond that and get into action. And I know, knowing some of the people that I talked to down there and that were there, I believe they will hold us to that. And that's okay. They should be holding us to that. Likewise, I think we have to do it both ways. Back in 2007, I had an opportunity to meet with an organization where they shared their distrust and displeasure with law enforcement. And after about 45 minutes of having them let us know what we didn't know about their population, it was really discovered to me and pointed out is they needed to also understand where we were coming from, and kind of going back and forth. And it has started the dialogue that has continued, for the last 13 years. And I think we've seen some inroads because of that communication and action afterwards.
Now, coming up this weekend, earliest starting on Friday, there's another event scheduled to try to keep that going, where faith leaders are set to meet in prayer with law enforcement. Now, Sheriff, why do you think it's so important for this dialogue to unfold and engage in the community? I know you're scheduled to attend that event. Why have that a platform to talk?
Well, it's hoped that with the faith community, and really hoping that it's all faiths that are involved down there, and hopefully the faith leaders have a little bit of a pulse of what's going on in their communities and can encourage all walks of life, whether they have a faith or don't have a faith, but to know the community, to get them involved in this dialogue and communication and effort. Again, I hesitate to always say communication, because communication is great, but we really need action to follow through with that.
And do you think that the reason the communication has been peaceful is because of this sense of community that at least we do share here in Chautauqua County and in the Jamestown area? You see it all the time, God forbid someone has a horrible house fire and they lose everything. Everybody comes together to try to support in a way. And even in this time where we see this unrest nationwide, here we've been able to have events like Sunday where people have that dialogue, call for that action, and they do it without flipping cars and destroying homes.
Well, you mentioned Chautauqua County is a great place, a community that sticks together and is willing to reach out to assist each other in time of need. And unfortunately, with what's going on right now, it sometimes does take a tragedy to motivate and move people. And this is something that we should be doing year round and not waiting. We should be proactive in our activities.
And finally, Sheriff, we thank you for joining us today. What is your overall message that you want the community to know about policing here locally and its relationship, and what steps you want to take going forward?
One of the big things that was brought up is community policing. We talked about that on Sunday, and it's something that we need to continue to do. In law enforcement, we have to get out into the community, which means sometimes getting out of our cars, going into public places, going into the parks, talking to people, listening to them. Sometimes we do too much talking, not enough listening. I come upon a quote from Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. that I hadn't seen before or heard before, but I think it's rather fitting. It says, "We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly." And we are a community, and when we see the senseless treatment that happened in Minnesota, we have to defeat that and be willing to stand up and say that is wrong. And I think any officer I've talked to in this area has expressed that those actions were, just inexcusable, and it should not have happened.
All right, Chautauqua County Sheriff Jim Quattrone joining us on the program today. Sheriff, great conversation. We appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Now let's get a check of our weather forecast with Dakota.
Well, hey, how about the sunset last night before the storms came in? How about this? Thanks to Walt for sending this in to us. The sunset over the field in the countryside. That was fantastic. Here's another one coming from our own Justin Gould. Took this out in Randolph. The sun setting out in the pasture. And here's another one coming from Julie. And again, the sunset was going down. And again, you know, we had the clouds partying a little bit before those storms came in. And of course, as always, First Defense Weather on Facebook and Hunters WX on Twitter is how you get us pictures and videos of the weather, and we will get them on the air. First Defense Doppler showing you clear scans across the area, but it's not so calm elsewhere. There's a severe thunderstorm watch further down to our south, which includes Philadelphia and parts of New York City. This is that bow line segment that came through this morning. It is high-tailed well down to the southeast. These storms are moving due southeast, not due east, not due south, but they're moving southeast. So again, that'll be basically staying away from us. And here's future scan through the day. It shows you just maybe a few additional showers. Otherwise, that's it. And I think most of the area should be partly to mostly sunny through the afternoon. Quiet tonight through tomorrow. Tomorrow will be warm, but the humidity not as bad, but it's still going to be up there. Friday, going into Thursday night and Friday, another storm system heads our way. The overall humidity ticks way up on Friday. So notice what pops up here on Friday. These random scattered afternoon showers and storms on Friday. It's not going to be raining everywhere nor all day. And also please keep in mind, we can't tell you when or where it is going to rain Friday afternoon. Just keep in mind with temperatures in the 80s with high amounts of humidity, showers and storms will spark in random nature throughout the day. Live look downtown shows you the clouds breaking apart. 71 at the airport right now. Healthy breeze, west wind at 15, got a wind gust to 20, and that's the dew point number at 64, and that's going to be climbing here as we go throughout the next couple of days. We have our third named tropical system in the Atlantic so far, and officially the Atlantic hurricane season is only officially 3 days old. We have now Tropical Storm Cristobal, which is down here off the coast of Mexico. This thing is just creeping along south-southeast at 3 miles an hour. This thing is going to curve into the Gulf of Mexico and possibly impact parts of the U.S. Gulf Coast by the weekend into early next week. That still needs to be determined, but no immediate impacts here in western New York from that. Here's the muggy meter here. This is where we're at today, 60 to 65 in that humid range. So again, you're going to be feeling a little bit of moisture on your skin as you walk out today. Tomorrow, the muggy meter doesn't change, but look at Friday. The muggy meter goes up into that muggy category again with dew points in the mid to upper 60s. It's going to be feeling almost soupy out there on Friday. So all of that humidity is going to be helping to fuel the thunderstorm development. Looking down the road here, we're still going to be rather warm. The jet stream digs deep into the west. That's the trough, but look at this heat ridge building basically in the Midwest going into the Northeast. So this goes all the way out until about the middle of the month. We're still trending warmer for at least parts of the month, but we'll see on that. But I think the end of the month will likely be warm here if the trends are correct. Zonecast, the inland areas today, lower to mid 70s will likely do it. Any of the rain will come to an end, leading to partly to mostly sunny skies for the afternoon. Next 7 days of your life on planet Earth coming up right now. 81 degrees tomorrow, 85 on Friday. Lots of lots of humidity in the air, scattered showers and storms there. We have up the rain chances slightly on Saturday, but the majority of the day should be dry, 76. Refreshing on Sunday, 69. Lower humidity, lots of sunshine. We stay dry pretty much through early next week, but we start warming up again by next Tuesday with temperatures into the lower 80s. Justin?
All right, Dakota, I'm looking forward to it. Thank you very much. That's going to do it for us today. Of course, news continues 24/7 at WNYNewsNow.com. Hopefully everyone's got their hair appointments scheduled because I was fortunate enough to get mine in yesterday. Feel so much better. Got to thank the staff down there at Detail Salon for making that happen. That's going to do it for us. Of course, news does continue 24/7 at WNYNewsNow.com. We are back tomorrow live at noon. Hope to see you then.